Hey, what's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to another edition of Late Night TCG. One of the longest, coolest tournaments ever. That was a weird intro. I'm in a weird mood today. I think there's something in that Popeyes I just ate. My name is Kyle. I'm also known as Koopa on the internet. I am here this week joined by my good friend, fellow commentator from the Super Smash Brothers realm. We did it. We've graduated. Nate.
We made
It's
it.
my man, Asmodeus. Nate, how
How's
you
it
doing,
going?
bud?
I'm so happy to be here. I'm very excited to be casting some more Pokemon.
Yeah, I am too. We got some weird stuff happening tonight, for sure, and we can talk about that a little bit more in depth in a tad. But we got some matches going on. You want to go to commentate some Pokemon, Nate?
Let's do it.
All right, cool. Well, I'm going to bring us over to match number 2. So you guys are coming along for the ride. So hang tight. All right, folks, we have arrived at the gameplay here. Looks like we have Marp Alarp on the top going up against, let's see what we got here pairings-wise. This is, I think this is Sablezard versus Arceus?
Yes.
This is a deck for sure. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so it's
this
Martin
is
E.
Martin E on the Arceus. Yep.
Yeah, Martin E going up
This
against
is just
Sheer.
regular Charizard. This is just
Okay.
regular Charizard.
They just happened to start Radiant Zard, which stinks.
So we got Charizard with a Dragapult this time from Shira's side up against this Arceus list.
Yeah, Arceus definitely one of those cards that I guess kind of refuses to go away. It's found its way to hang around, continue to maybe give itself a puncher's chance. And we're seeing this now style of Arceus that plays these checkmate cards like Dusknoir as well as the Slowbro from Pokemon Go. Nate, I don't know if you've run into much of this deck in person or on the ladder, but what are your thoughts?
I have not, but it interests me. I have a playset of Arceuses, and I like them quite a lot. So I'm excited
Yeah.
to see what it can do here in this match.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest problems you run into sometimes with Arceus is that you have these weird number thresholds you kind of have to force yourself to hit. It's hard doing 180, 200 isn't always like the best amount of damage to do sometimes unless you're hitting into like a big basic. But with the addition of the Dusclops and the Dusknoir, it allows you to fix your math in a lot of instances. So you can really just blow your opponent off the board. And in one of these big evolving decks, like what we see She-Ra playing here, you might see some instances where some popping of the Dusknoirs could be very, very detrimental.
So Martin getting the full setup here, even going to go for the Squawk ability. Squawk and seizing these cards away, seeing more of the deck.
Card very
the
close
coin
to my
flip.
heart.
Yep. The coin flip was won by She-Ra. Going first is always very, very good for both of these decks.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting strategy here. Charizard's a deck that tends to like to go second. It's an Arven engine deck, so going second is something that's very good for you. You can get yourself, the 4 Sealstone, Buddy Poffin, and a V Pokemon to help get yourself over to really help you get established. But against these V-Star decks, these decks have the potential to really do some damage turn 2 after going first, being able to evolve themselves. So I think putting those decks on the back foot is very, very strong for you, especially if you're playing something like, the Dragapult. In conclusion with this, you have one of the best early game attackers combined with one of the best late game attackers. I think you really give yourself some good flexibility here.
So we used Turo's scenario to get the Radiant Charizard off the bench, and that lets us put the Charmander up in the active, looking for hopefully an attack here. But there's a lot to be done without an Arven to be played, so we have to use the V-Star power with the Forest Sealstone here.
But we always have it. The rare candy into the Charizard EX Infernal Rain will move this energy into play here. Only punching for 180, but you're forcing your opponent to punch through a very large 330 HP Charizard here. Burning Darkness for the 180, just going to soften up this Arceus V. Let's see what the response is going to be here.
Now, the nice thing about math is that 13 plus 20 happens to be 330.
Yeah.
So if we could see an Arceus V-Star with a double turbo energy here, then that would be enough exactly with the Dust Noir's ability to knock out this Charizard.
And there we go. We get exactly that. Arceus V-Star on the board. Going to get both of them into play here. So it looks like, like you
and
said,
we
we're
even
just
get to save our Starbirth here. We don't really need to use that very, very powerful V-Star ability yet. Actually going to put the 13 on the Dreepy, which I do like this as well.
Yeah, I definitely like that as well. You do play those 60 HP Duskulls. You want to protect your bench as much as you can. So I think, taking care of the card that can do damage counters is very important. And there you go. The turn continuing here for Martin. They're going to hit Tails on the Capturing Aurora.
Just set up some more of the Duskull line. We have three of that line. Actually, it's 4 Duskull, 1 Dusclops, 3 Dust Noir. So really leaning heavily into these new Dusclops line.
Yeah, I think getting the maximum, 130 out of the Curse Blast is important, especially if you play a card like, Arceus, where you have that Starburst ability, allows you to search your deck for 2 cards. And looking at the hand here for Martin, if you're able to even if this Arceus gets knocked out here, you have an opportunity to just completely board wipe here. Use the Starburst, get 2 Dusknoir, Rare Candy, and you're off to the races.
Well, let me correct my math here. I was thinking that the Trinity Nova did 220, but it does 200. So there wasn't enough to knock out the Charizard last turn. So this makes, of course, way more sense.
Math is hard, historically.
There's a lot of it.
Not my favorite subject.
We're setting up these 2-hit KOs on these big, powerful 2-prize Pokemon on both sides. But the luxury that Martin has here is a fresh Arceus with Starbirth still available. So searching your deck for any 2 cards oftentimes is quite strong.
And personally, I'm still very nervous about this this Slowpoke just sitting in the bench looking me in the face. Like, if I get Twilight Inspiration, I would be very upset personally. That attack is very funny. You can only use it if your opponent has exactly 1 prize card left, but you get to automatically take 2 prize cards. It is absolutely hilarious.
And with the Duskull and Dust Noir, or Dusclops rather, Dusclops and Dust Noir, allowing you to give your opponent prize cards effectively, you can set it up way more frequently than you might think.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it in that regard. Again, I think this is still very new technology. Arceus has definitely kind of fallen from grace. It's definitely fallen out of favor with a lot of the player base, but always finding new technology. I think as long as these V-Star cards continue to exist, there's always going to be, a will and a way. Being able to get 2 of anything out of your deck is still incredibly good.
Yeah, it will always be strong for as long as it exists. So Martin really thinking here about whether or not to use the Starbirth. They honestly can afford to wait again.
Yeah, I don't
Arceus
think
can
they're
take
in
out
any
the
rush
Charizard
here.
by itself. There's nothing else set up that could potentially get the knockout back in return. It's very likely that Radiant Charizard could attack next turn with an attachment of Fire Energy, but 250 is not 280 unless you have the Defiance Band.
Yeah.
Let's see if Shira has that, actually.
Yeah,
There is a Defiance Band in the list, so that would be a possible play.
And it's just kind of tough because you have this, you've already used your V-Star ability with the Forest Seal Stone. Your lone Charizard EX has been knocked out here. So we're going to be in a situation where, hopefully Shira has everything they need in the hand to pull this off. But they also still need a Fire Energy to get this Radiant Charizard off the off the ground, only being able to attach a singular Psychic. Oh, there we go.
Does have the Fire. I would say there's 3 in the discard right now, but had it in hand. But now needs to find that Defiance Band if we want to try to knock out the Arceus this turn. But knocking out the Arceus is very scary because of the slow bro. It wouldn't quite be the game yet.
Yeah, this is kind of like
But
the tough. This is kind of like the tough problem you have when you play these like Charizard hybrid archetypes, especially if you're playing a Dusknoir line here. It looks like, you're playing just very thin lines of everything you need, and it's gonna make piecing everything together kind of awkward sometimes. No Pidgeot makes it really really hard to kind of get you over to the next piece here. So, we'll see what Sheara's hand looks like. 6 cards is a lot, but it could just be a lot of pieces that just don't work right now.
And there's not really an effective follow-up attack on board at the moment as well. So even if the Defiance Band is found and you can knock out the Arceus this turn, what you are doing in the next turn is still a question.
Yeah. Insert the plankton meme. I don't know. I didn't think I'd get this far. Type.
Didn't expect to get this far. That's right. Yeah.
No scrap shot on the table. Unfortunately, no lightning energy in the deck. So. Okay. Interesting
There's
choice
not
here.
even Combustion Blast here.
Yeah, it's
Starbirth. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say definitely an interesting choice here. Obviously, you don't want to punch into an Arceus and then not be able to give yourself the ability to attack the next turn. But yeah, I think Shearer kind of knew the writing was on the wall there as it was. He just kind of had a rough game to start there. So that's gonna be game 1 going to Martin
With this very interesting Arceus Dusclops deck. It was not the best setup for Shearer, we will say.
It was definitely not great.
For a Seal Stone on turn 1. Never really what you want to see.
That brings back like really bad memories of when I used to play like Mew VMAX, and like I'd have just such an awful hand. I'd be forced to use the 4 Seals and get VIP pass on my first turn, and I was like, this just feels like such like a letdown, like a really sad party balloon. Like,
you are getting a present, but is it the one that you wanted? No.
Yeah, it's the one you found under the Christmas tree weeks ago. So now this is kind of a cracked hand here for Martin. This is kind of nuts.
It's not bad.
You have the Nest Ball to establish your Arceus. You have Buddy Buddy Poffin to establish your Ghosts. And you have some extra dig with the Trekking Shoes. And you're also going second, so you're going to be able to just completely dump your hand of anything you don't need. Oh, no. That's not good.
Turn 1, no cards played from Shira.
That stinks.
This opens up the possibility for winning on this turn. There's a world where we get to Dusknoir here, put down one other Pokemon, and that's just the game for Martin.
Yeah. It's really putting the pressure on the other side here for Shearer to actually, like, establish a Pokemon. And thank God, that Arceus doesn't have an actual attack for its first attack, because then the game would simply be over. But, we will at least see a second turn here for Shearer. But again, like you mentioned, Nate, definitely setting up the board to possibly win on the next turn.
Another great setup here for Martin. Getting all the Duskulls ready. Even loading up the Arceus to start attacking on a future turn.
You get Tails here, so we're just going to go for the Arceus V. A little bit of an awkward hand here.
Having 2 V-Stars throughout the course of the game is kind of where you want to sit.
Yeah, no, that seems pretty efficient. Just being able to do a solid 180, 200 every turn is very, very good. Especially because you can accelerate that energy to yourself, so you don't have to worry about finding an attachment every turn.
Yep, there's not many basic energies in the list. There's 2 water and 2 psychic.
Just enough.
We have to imagine Shira has a supporter in these 7 cards that they could not play last turn.
An 8-card hand. Oh, okay. Sure, why not?
Who needs Pidgeot when you have Charizard in hand?
Yeah. And Arvin. There we go.
There's the Arvin. So we'll see most likely Buddy Buddy Poffin, get some more setup going. Or just an S-Ball.
Yeah, an S-Ball most likely to grab the Rotom, the Force Heal Stone, and possibly get you the Buddy Buddy Poffin so that your board is at least set up here. And because you started with the Charizard, you have the Charizard in the active, you're going to be able to take a knockout here, and your opponent's not going to be able to take return. And there is still no Arceus V-Star in sight. And his hand is kind of clunky here for Martin. So this top deck's going to be very important.
See how much Shira can get done here. It does seem, of course, like the Duskull in the active will be going down eventually.
There you go. The Buddy Buddy Poffin coming out. Going to get the Pidgeot and the Charmander.
Pidgey makes an appearance for the first time.
I see him, Pidgey, yeah. The small guy.
It was absolutely missing from last game.
Yeah, I think it's so tough when you play like these like thin lines of all these Pokemon. Like I can imagine your brain is just constantly you think about what. Oh my gosh, that top deck was nuts.
That was exactly what Martin needed. We said the top deck was going to be important, and there it was.
Yep, all we need is the shoes. The Ultra Ball is found. We are going to get the Arceus V-Star here. I'm curious what the choice is going to be up to Starburst here, Nate. What do you think we need here? We have the rare candy. Do we possibly go for the
We might
Dusknoir?
save it again, to be honest. Okay, we are going to use it. There's a world where you save it because you expect to survive another turn. So we'll see what we can cook up here. Gets a Dusknoir and an Iono for a supporter.
Yeah, not a bad call there. The hand is still pretty mediocre right now. Going for this Iono, especially after going for the pop here, it is going to put your opponent on one less card. So you're going to go from a hand of 6 to 4.
Right. Powering up your Iono before you play it.
Yeah.
Something that was not possible until somewhat recently.
Yeah, she.
Or rather, it was much harder to do until recently.
Yeah, she just got a massive raid on Twitch, so she's just become unstoppable. Oh, this is the stuff of dreams.
The Dusclops to manually evolve as well, and another Duskull to start going. And then we'll do probably 180 with the Trinity Nova. Put some energy on that Arceus V on the bench.
There we go. We set up a nice little board state here. So we're at max doing 240 with 2 prize
240
skirts.
from Burning Darkness. That's right.
I was gonna say, hopefully, you possibly have the Pidgeot, rare candy Pidgeot in hand to go get the Defiance, but even Defiance Man doesn't put you in enough range. Oh, it's tough.
And
Oh,
it's
we're
not
gonna get it
active yet
anyway.
either.
Oh, you're right. It is not.
I know. There's all this weird prize taking on different turns. People taking them out of order.
Yeah, there's a lot of chess on either side. I lost track of where the math is going there, but we're gonna grab those things anyway. Do we possibly burn the Ultra Ball to go get the Pidgeot here? Do we have the piece in hand? Nope, we're just gonna go for the 210.
This is perhaps accepting that your Charizard is going to get taken out on this next turn, but then the Defiance Band will be active. And hopefully Shira has enough resources in hand at that point to execute all of their plans.
There you go. Gonna get the Dusknoir here.
So another 130 plus 180 that we can place. There's not great targets at the moment. You maybe take out the Charmander again. That seemed to be the plan before.
Yeah, think about what the course here. I think limiting your opponent's attackers is huge here. You're basically putting Shira in a position where you're forcing them to have a lot more pieces to attack this turn. You're forcing them to have like rare candy, Dragapult, and a way to get the Neo Upper Energy, which is the ace spec they're choosing to play in this deck. So I think just popping the Charmander on the bench and then taking 2 prize cards here is very important. So setting yourself up nicely for the subsequent turn, barring what Shira has in her hand right now.
Professor's research from the prize cards. Well, you love to see it.
Yeah, that's pretty good. This low hand size is not going to matter at all. So that false sense of security of like, okay, my opponent has to draw hot here to get what they need is still very much in the cards.
I know there's a couple interesting lines that Martin has opened up with the full basic energies on this Arceus V on the bench. That means perhaps a Trinity Nova from a V-Star would do the full 200, and then plus the Dust Noir, that hits the 330 that we might need. At the same time, Shira is at 3 prize cards remaining. So if this Arceus V-Star in the active gets knocked out, that's 2 prize cards, leaving them at 1 left for the Slowbro effect. So there's a lot perhaps coming from Martin's side in the following couple of turns. This research could be everything.
Yeah, the next 7 cards you see off the top here could very much make or break the game here. So just kind of weighing things out here. We do have the Arvin.
Arvin
have
is
the
huge
piece
for Shiro. Yep.
We have Rare Candy.
Rare
So that
Candy.
yeah. So one of these guys is evolving. Which one's it gonna be?
You can't attack with the Dragapult this turn, could you?
It's tough unless that other card in their hand is the Pidgeot. Yeah, but
there's Neo Upper. Neo Upper is in the deck.
Yeah, so it's
there's a
like,
chance.
yeah, it's just like their hand is just so small. Like I think you're gonna be like a piece short here. Okay, no, that helps too. Getting Fezidipity, draw
Flipping
your
the
hand.
script, draw 3 more.
This card is broken.
It still is asking a lot for those 3 cards. Finds a second Ultra Ball. To get the Dragapult this time, they have Rare Candy in hand. What's the 3rd card is the important thing here.
Did they draw into the Neo Upper Energy? Because that's going to be sick
If it's Neo
they
Upper,
did.
that's insane.
Oh!
1/2 of it.
Well, the Jet Headbutt still does enough damage just to get the knockout, so. Shame, though, because you could have easily taken the win here if you had the Neo Upper Energy. That 1 prize card left. Now, it could happen. No, actually, no, it can't. It could happen. But you're still going to have to get the Slowbro out here, so you're going to have to survive another turn. I think if you don't win here, you're just...
right.
Unfortunately, we're not going to get to see the Twilight Inspirations, which is a shame.
Is there a way... No, there's no way in Martin's deck to get this Duskull off the field is the problem.
Yeah.
So the threat of a Phantom Dive will always be there. Unless we can evolve this Duskull.
Yeah, I mean, you still have your Prime Catcher in the deck, so maybe you're trying to... Okay, oh yeah, we found Prime Catcher, so we just knock out the Rotom.
Okay, there we go.
There we go. That's going to be Trinity Nova for the game here. Martin is going to move on over Shira in a clip of 2-0-Nate.
Yeah, some insane games with this Arceus and Dust Noir. Setting up for some silly lines. And not the best setup from Shira both times, but again, is the thing he's saying with these lists that are spread so thin out on their resources. It means you're not going to get them every game.
Yeah, we can send it back to us in the caster chat. We'll talk a little bit more what we got going on. So hang tight for 2 seconds, guys. Oh, and let's adjust the screen. Hey, what are you looking at? It's us again. All right, so yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that fun match with Martin's Arceus Dusknoir deck. Like I said, one of my friends played that deck to me recently at a local, and it's silly stuff. I think doing that 50, that 130, very important math to set up, and unfortunately for Shira, just could not get the strongest of starts. That deck definitely had RSPK energy with how many thin lines of Pokemon you play, but it was certainly something.
A lot of very interesting lines to be had with this new Dust Noir set.
Yeah, I still think Dusknoir is, as a concept, is still like has some work to be done. But we can we'll have the rest of the night to talk about it. You want to hop in another game? See what we got else going on here. I see Lugia, so I'm gonna yap. Hold on for 2 seconds, guys. All right, we've arrived back here. Game already in progress between King Heracross and Meta Man. That is a big ol' lost box hand there, Nate.
That is what you usually want to see, but
Oh, and the game's over. We came just in time.
let's see. I was trying to see which.
It looks like that's 2-0
match
for
this
Meta.
was.
That might be
was
2-0
the
for
last
Meta
game.
Man. Yeah. Darn, they hate to see a man with whimsy talk about Lugia.
Well, you got what you wanted. The Lugia won.
Yeah, it's true. I guess I am the winner at the end of the day. All right, let's kick it back to us real quick. Oh, my camera's not on. There we go. All right, it's me again, guys. Yeah, we're back. That game was already in progress.
Lugia is so broken that it won already.
Do I got the BRB screen mixed up? Oh, I do have the BRB screen mixed up. Oh, because you know I have them both on the same thing. Sorry, PJ. I'm just showing everyone what my transitions look like. We'll figure it out. I'll fix this. I'll fix this in post. Anyway, we're back here, guys. I think there's another match still going on in progress. Let me check who's playing here. What table is that?
Looks like from the preview that it's Charizard.
All right, so let's take a look at our pairings here. That's Roaring Moon. Could be, that's not them. Let's see what we got over here. I think that's Ryan K and Jetta. They are currently 1-0. Yeah, let's hop over. Let's talk about some Charizard.
All right.
You know that game's gonna take a while, so hang tight, guys. All right, we have returned. Game already in progress. 3 prize cards taken. Charizard versus Charizard, Nate.
This is actually Pidgeot v Pidgeot, as we can see. The more important half of the deck.
Dare I say this fight is for the birds?
The birds and the birds only.
Charizard's basically a bird deck. Or I think, like the longer I think about it, that Pidgeot is cooked. Good night, sweet prince.
So Ryan, on our player perspective here, is up 1-0. And the opponent Jet just took out the KO on Pidgeot, which is very important in this matchup.
Yeah, no, I think being able to police your opponent's Pidgeot is huge, but getting the Pheasantipity off the unfair stamp is, dare I say, incredibly unfair.
So flipping the script, this is even better than if Iono happened. We have 5 cards instead of 3.
And here we draw into the Arven. That is awesome. You already have your Charizard in hand. I don't know what the energy count looks like right now, but that
the question is if there is a prime catcher in the Discord or not. And it seems like there would be. It would be a quick Arven for that.
Yeah, that is true. But also, given what Jet is playing here, they have the Magma Basin in play, so that does make powering up your Charizard, even if you don't have the energies in the deck to do so, a little bit easier. Oh, Prime Catcher is still in the deck. Ooh. Okay. Tempting stuff.
Oh, right. Ryan has 3 prizes. I was looking at the 2. So taking a 2 prize knockout here is not the game, but it still might be the play.
But the question is, there's no way you can get to the Charizard EX and the pivot at the same time here.
Yeah, we have to go for a 1 prize knockout, it seems like. Because leaving the Charizard full health with the Defiance Band on.
Okay, we're just going to hard retreat out here. There we go. Going to now take out the opponent's Pidgeot.
Okay.
Pidgeot v Pidgeot.
So now Jet is a gust away from a victory as well.
Oh, he doesn't even need to because
right.
yeah. Yeah, Defiance Band, he's losing. And Charizard, when you have exactly one prize card left, is doing enough math to knock himself out. So that was just kind of unfortunate stuff there for Ryan. He just did not have the juice to get a big knockout there. Being on odd prize cards in Charizard is tough, because obviously you want to hit that sweet 2-2-2, but I believe both lists are playing. There's a Dusknoir line in Ryan's list as well as a Dusknoir line in Jetta's list. So both playing pretty similar lists.
Big difference is Unfair Stamp for Jetta versus Prime Catcher for Ryan.
Yeah, that's a really fun debate with the Charizards right now. Is what ace spec do you run with? This used to be like a very Guardy specific problem. Gardevoir, I felt like, was the deck that could play you should play Hero's Cape or you should play Unfair Stamp. Have you heard of the Neutralization Zone? So I don't know if you have an opinion on this or not, Nate, of like, what do you think best suits Charizard as an ace spec currently?
It's hard to say. I am a fan of the Cape. 430 health is a lot to deal with. But there are certain matchups where one ace spec or the other is way, way, way better. Like against Ancient Box, the Cape hardly does anything. You're getting two-shot anyway.
Yeah.
So you have to think about the meta and what you're going to expect to face more often.
I'm personally a fan of Unfair Stamp being the best here. I think being able to both disrupt with Iono, if you choose to do so, as well as an item, is huge. We've seen how hard it is for certain decks to function on low hand sizes. The downside to that, though, is that a lot of decks also are playing Pheasantipity. Like almost every of the meta decks right now play that card. So hand disruption can feel like kind of a lie sometimes. Yeah. So it's tough. I think every ace spec, I agree, does kind of make a case for what you want to do. I think it really depends on how the meta is going to shape up here. But we're going to see Ryan going first here in the mirror. Makes a lot of sense. You want to be able to. Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. I think you want to get off the ground early with this deck. So
it looks like a decent setup from them as well. Had the Buddy Puffin in hand as well as an S-Ball.
Yeah, and someone brings up a great point in the chat. No one's playing Vacuum right now, so Cape is very much the Stones. It's very, very good.
There's always a kind of wave up and down of these tech cards going in and out. So if you hit the sweet spot, you can do very, very well.
All right, so both sides starting off optimally with the Buddy Poffin. Going to allow you to search your deck for 2 basic Pokemon with 70 HP or less. You know what's better than 2 slices of bread, Nate? 4.
The Buddy Poffin.
Yeah. Now, you've heard of the Buddy system, but have you heard of the Buddy system?
It's twice as safe.
Yeah, this is a huge start for Jetta here. So we're going to get all the buds out here. A couple of Charmanders, a Dusknoir, and a Pidgey. All walk into into the playing field.
The start of an elaborate joke.
Yes. Give me like a week. I'll be able to find a good punchline for that.
Ending the turn with that instant charge from Rotom V to draw 3 more cards. This is a decent hand here for our friend Ryan.
Yeah, you have a lot of options here. In fact, you have basically everything you need to get an attack off the board here. You can Luminion for the Arven. Arven helps you get the it'll help you get the Forest Sealstone, as well as whatever item card you want to get.
Most likely, we could see the Pidgeot and the Charizard be set up this turn.
Yeah, you're probably going to go get another rare candy for a Sealstone, so that way you can just immediately get into all the pieces you need here. So we're going to grab the Ultra Ball for a Sealstone. Either way
Ultra Ball
works
for the
here.
Pidgeot, and you quick search for the other candy.
Yeah, that probably makes the most sense here. Fez, you can get back at a given time. I believe they play I'm assuming they play Pokemon Recovery in this list, so it has to be at least 1 Super Rod.
We've got 2 rods for Ryan.
Okay, interesting to go for 2 rods, but I like it. I think having more recovery is not bad.
We see the rare candy into the Pidgeot, and then we can quick search for our second rare candy to get a Charizard EX set up.
And you still have access to the Forest Seal Stone, which is huge. So you've been able to
Yes.
manage your resources very well here. I think the dust, just getting rid of the dust clops is fine. Like, that 50 damage isn't really going to make a difference. I think it's the 130 that is where it's really going to help your math.
Yeah. Even presets up our second Charmander on the bench.
Which you can, use pop the Forest Seal Stone next turn, get the Charizard with the Forest Seal Stone, and get another rare candy. They'll come together here, Nate.
A great setup for Ryan. Gets that first prize card with the Burning Darkness. We'll see what these 3 cards that Jet drew from the Rotom could be. They promote the Pidgey, which perhaps is assuming they're going to get to a Pidgeot. We get to flip the script as well.
Yeah, the script has now been flipped twice.
This script is just in constant motion in these games.
Sort of looking like a Blade movie with how many scripts we've gone through with this
I think
one.
someone needs to stop. Someone needs to save the script.
Yeah, I think we need to hire a director.
People need to read it. It's just constantly flipping. Another interesting part of Jetta's list here that we talked about a little bit last game is the Magma Basin. So they are only running 5 fire energy, no mist or anything. But you have that second option of a Magma Basin to get some fire out of the discard to kind of make up for that difference. And I like that a lot.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting card. That's a card that saw play early in Charizard when the card first came out during Obsidian Flames. But you were playing it with things like, Entei and Arceus, Squawkabilly, so the builds were very, very different back then. But I do agree, if you're going to go down to the 5 energy, trying to fit all these Pokemon in, having a way to get energy into play without necessarily having a Charizard for it is very important.
There was another Cursed Blast from Dusclops, putting 50 damage counters on the Pidgeot, which also opens up the bench space for this Lumineon. A nice little mid-turn play there.
Yep, gonna grab the Arven.
That does as well set up a Burning Darkness for 240 damage, which could finish off that Pidgeot on the bench, perhaps.
Yeah, we saw how that game unfolded that game ended previously. Being able to knock out your opponent's opposing Pidgeots is huge. Given how many thin lines of Pokemon you play in these builds, you're almost never going to get more than one Pidgey set up at a time. So, being able to stall your opponent for a couple turns with that knocking out the Pidgeot is huge. And we see them go for the Jetta go for the counter catcher there, which leads you to believe they have all the other pieces in hand right now.
Right. And the Forest Seal Stone will seal the deal as well. There's the rare candy into Pidgeot. We can quick search for whatever piece we're missing. It looks like that bird is getting knocked out this turn, Kyle.
Yeah, that's exactly what it looks like here. Rare candy for the Charizard EX, Infernal Rain. Going to wrap this energy into play, and we already know the counter catcher is in hand, Nate. So we're going to see Jetta be the first one to go down the 2 prize cards here. And again, in these sort of matchups against these big, 2 prize EX decks, it is very important to keep your prize race as unodd as possible, if that's a word. But here we go, 240 after the 50 from that Duskull. That's 290 for the knockout. Jetta's going to go on the board here, up 2 prize cards.
And importantly, this as well makes it a little bit harder for Ryan to get any sort of return KO. We get to flip the script here for a few more cards. They do have the Forest Seal Stone and the V-Star Power available for any one piece that perhaps they would need. But getting to the Pidgeot is a little bit harder for them than it was for Jetta, it seems like.
Yeah, I guess there's a play here where you go for Rare Candy and Defiance Band. Yeah, because I think you're already doing enough damage. If you pop the 130 on the Charizard, plus the damage from Burning Darkness is enough to get the knockout, I believe.
Yeah, it's 240 plus 13. Or even if they could only get a Dusclops, that would work as well.
Thinking about what to do here.
The problem is you need probably the Prime Catcher, which means you're not picking up the rare candy first. It's a hard decision to make.
Yeah, it is tough. Now, granted, it is very nice to have the added benefit of the Forest Sealstone here, but like you said, you might just be a piece short here. You know, again, not having the Pidgeot to help you kind of carry over to what you don't have. You see why this is so huge here.
Right, when Jet was trying to do this play, they had the bird, and they still do have the bird. So we're prime catching up the Pheasantipity instead, so the Burning Darkness will just take this out easy peasy for a knockout for 2 more prize cards.
Yeah, I also agree with this play as well. So
this full setup board from Jeddah seemingly can get up to almost whatever they want on this next turn. We'll see what that ends up being.
Yeah, I think going for the draw support engine here is huge, but we're gonna see the promotion here for Jeddah. You know, gonna be go on 2. No way to kind of grief an extra KO here. There is no Duskull or Dusclops or Dusknoir on the bench, so you're gonna have to just punch whatever's in front of you here, Nate.
Which perhaps you can accept a little trading turn. We do get the Pheasantipity back with the Night Stretcher, so 3 more cards from a script being flipped once again.
Yep, Night Stretcher going to help recover the Pheasantipity. That card is very good.
I am a huge fan of Night Stretcher.
Yeah, that card does not get like talked about in the pantheon of like really good cards from Try to Fable. Like, it's definitely like the Kyurem and Pheasantipity show for sure, but Night Stretcher just adds so much flexibility into a lot of existing archetypes.
I think as the deck building gets a little bit more refined over time, we'll see the amounts of Night Stretchers in almost every deck go up slightly. We get the Hisuian Heavy Ball there for Jeddah to get the Radiant Charizard out of the prizes, which could be an important factor here in this kind of odd prize race that Charizard has to play. I'm going to throw the Defiance Band on this Charizard, so we're hitting for a lot of damage with this Burning Darkness. It would be 330 now.
Yep, doing just enough to knock out opposing Charizard here. But at the same time, everybody's on even prize cards here, Nate. So it does, give Ryan the opportunity to win the game on the next turn.
Second Charizard being set up from Jeddah in the off chance that they do survive. It's good to have another attacker set up. There's no more fire in the deck, it seems like, but that's what the Magma Basin is for eventually.
Yeah, kind of some awkward sequencing there. You think, okay, I that makes it a little bit more understandable. I was gonna say maybe you super rod before you evolve the Charizard, but instead just gonna go for the unfair stamp. I hope you draw into it, which you do. There we go, 330 exactly with the Defiance Band. Nate, we're gonna go down to 2 prize cards here on Jeddah side. But the tables have now turned over to Orion, who can win the game.
A truly unfair stamp this time. This Charmeleon Duskull not helping out much.
Oh!
Ultra Ball is an important part. We do get 3 more draws from a Pheasantipity flipping the script.
Do we just draw? It looks like we're just going to go straight for the Charizard here and hope we draw into the rest. There is another rare candy left in the deck. We also do have the Forest Sealstone.
There's a lot of parts that need to be found with these 3 cards. We'll see. Here we go.
The script's been flipped. What do we get? Oh, we don't get it.
Not quite what we want to see.
No, that is tough. I think that just might be... That might just be game here. Yeah, because...
Jeddah with the Pidgeot still active can easily search for a boss's orders.
Yep. This could just be all she... Oh, doesn't even need to do it. Has it in hand. The Pheasantipity has been bossed up. That's going to be game here for Jeddah here, Nate. Wow, that was a real barn burner.
I'm able to take out the Pidgeot first, shut off that extremely powerful searching effect, and then able to take this kind of long, grindy 2-prizer knockout game and takes the set victory.
All right, while I wait for the next round to get paired up and we see who's streaming, let's go back to us in the caster chat, see what talking about a little bit more. All right, it's us again. So yeah, we've just now finished top 16 of our cut tonight, Nate. And again, that's a lot of fun. Charizard mirrors are very just they're big chess games, and
Cerebral, one might say.
yeah, 4D chess as one might put it also. But yeah, you see how huge of a card Pidgeot is in these mirrors, and again, given how you have to set your board states up with Charizard, it does make finding space for that second Pidgey, maybe a little bit awkward for you, especially since you're only playing a 2-2 line to begin with. Yeah, it proves that Pidgeot really is a de facto mob boss in this deck. He's being able to get one of anything from your deck, kind of broken.
Quite strong. So I'm taking a look at our decks that are moving on into top 8, and it's a wide selection of decks here. We're missing a couple, but there's a Turbo Moon, there is a Snorlax Stolly nonsense. There's that Arceus deck we saw from Martin.
And
There's
unfortunately,
one Charizard, one Raging Bolt.
Yeah, unfortunately, the elephant in the room that we cannot talk about lost in top 16. Folks, there is a Serena EX deck at 801 going to be
undefeated in Swiss.
And unfortunately got cooked by the long neck guy. Let's talk a little bit about this deck, Nate, because we're not going to get to talk about it the rest of the night. What a choice.
Yes, the Serena was it's an interesting choice. It is seemingly very good against Charizard, and that seems to be the tech that you're going for.
Yeah, I think that the strategy of this deck is that you want to go first. You want to set up. It's I mean, it's tough. I guess you do want to go first. You're a rare candy deck, so obviously you want to establish that first evolution.
The quicker you can get a Serena, it seems like the better.
Yeah, you have that Icicle Soul, drops everybody to 30 HP, and then you have the Frostlass with that Freezing Shroud, excuse me.
Freezing Shroud.
Yep, it puts 10 damage counters on your Pokemon in between in Pokemon Checkup. So if you got 3 of those guys in play, that's an extra 30 damage. And that's knocking out basically all the rest of your guys. So you have an opportunity to board wipe very quickly with this deck.
And another option, they have one Monkey Dory with one Luminous and one Darkness energy in the deck. So perhaps if the Frostlass doesn't take out something, you can move some damage counters on to get that last 30 damage.
This is certainly a deck, that's for sure. It's very interesting. And I think given the state of where the meta might be, it seems like this might... If you're expecting the room to be a lot of Charizard, this deck makes a lot of sense. But unfortunately, when you're running something like Raging Bolt that doesn't care if you move damage around, they're just going to be able to blow the doors off of you. So unfortunately, did not pan out for our hero,
Our
Ayasagi.
Serena champion.
Yeah. But we do have, like you mentioned, some other top 16 matches to talk about. We got Codes 27 with the Raging Bolt Ogerpon going up against Bird Boy and the Pidgeot Control deck. Interesting matchup for sure. I'm curious. What are your thoughts on Raging Bolt right now, and the Turbo decks in general? How are you feeling?
They're certainly a very strong force to be reckoned with. A lot of people as well are very excited about Raging Bolt going into Stellar Crown format. The addition of Briar perhaps making a lot of matchups a lot easier for them.
Yeah.
So I think it is a good deck to be learning with and getting reps in, because it's probably here to stay for a while.
Yeah, I agree. Now, if you were not going to Baltimore, but if you were going to Baltimore, what would you lock in?
Most likely Raging Bolt. It's what I've had the most practice with, and that is a huge factor. Just being prepared, knowing your deck in and out, is such a huge portion of winning games, is knowing exactly everything that you have. So I think that would have been my choice.
Not a bad choice at all. I think given the amount of Charizard that's going to be popping up, I think considering the other Turbo decks get kind of spanked by Charizard, in the late game, I think not immediately succumbing to Charizard is a huge perch for Raging Bull. But I think we got a game going on. You want to go see what it looks like? We got I think Martin.
It's Martin again. Yes.
All right. More Exploding Ghosts. We'll be right back, guys. All right, gamers. We heard you like ghosts that explode. So we're back here with Arceus Dust Noir.
And some Dusclops on the other side as well. So we have Jetta again with this Charizard list up against Martin's Arceus and friends.
These are certainly some friends. I would love to be friends with the Ghost, personally.
Or friends with God, like Arceus. That seems pretty good too.
Super Gods and Ghosts, just like that one video game franchise.
I think I've heard of that one, yeah.
That guy was in Marvel vs. Capcom. All right, we're going to see the Ultra Ball here to get the Dust Noir.
Now, this is a great setup for Jetta, though. They have double Charmander and double Pidgey. So at least one of the two lines is sticking around for next turn.
Yeah, there is. I was going to say, there is a scenario there where we do have the Arceus V-Star here, and we're going to grab the Starbirth. There is a scenario where you just go for board wipe on the Pidgeys. We saw how huge not having Quick Search is for Charizard. So I think that's definitely something you could consider here. But we're going to see the Dusknoir immediately evolved here, and the attachment of the double Turbo Energies.
Yep. Often for some more Duskulls. I think that would be the only thing that can be chosen.
Yeah, we're going to grab one more Duskull. We're going to Prime Catcher something up here. It looks like we're going to go for
we're
the
perhaps going after the
Charmander.
Charmanders instead of the Pidgeys here with this choice.
Yeah, I also don't think that's a bad idea. I think you try to knock out the attackers here, which is smart. You Prime Catcher up the 1, you pop the 1 on the bench, and then you just re-promote your Arceus. You Iono your opponent down to 5, and you're pretty much just set up here. You give yourself another free 2 turns to do whatever the heck you want.
We get another Arceus as well from the Iono to fully set up with Trinity Nova.
Oh, so close. We do got Slowbro, though.
Slowbro. He's going to get set up.
Yeah, so now I can already frantically hear Jetta clicking their mouse to see what Slowbro does.
What does this do? What does this do?
All right, we're
going to in back 2 more Duskull. These are very important to Martin's game plan. So wanting to get as many as possible.
And there we go. Just going to go for the 180. And again, given the board state you have, like I said, you probably wish you set up another Arceus there, but given that you just knocked out your opponent's primary attacker, you are going to give
start.
Not a bad start. Yeah, you're going to give yourself at least 2 more turns here to get whatever else you might need.
So now the strength of taking out both of these Charmanders means that there certainly is no Charizard coming this turn. We get to flip the script from Jetta, 3 more cards. We are looking to set up the Pidgeot, which perhaps could attack this turn if we have another Fire Energy.
We could see Gust.
Yeah, never quite what you want to see. With this Arven for a Forest Seal Stone, we'll see what Jetta can get up to with Star Alchemy, perhaps.
Yeah. Oh, no. I think we're going to see Blustery Wind.
Yeah. That's what. It does 120, which could be important.
That's true. 120 plus 130 is 250? Did I do that math right? Yeah. Okay.
We get to take out a Duskull at least.
Yeah, not bad. It does take your opponent's extra math here away, so you're not gonna, unless they're gusting up into a single prizer, they will not be taking an extra prize card this turn.
So we're doing a quick search first. I wanted to say quick search there in my brain.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's how do we navigate that that terminology?
Just a quick search. And there's that Blustery Wind taking out the Duskull, taking 1 prize card.
How quick could a quick search if a quick search could search quick? There we go.
The most scholarly minds are on the question.
Is what happens when you drink soda at 12:30 at night. Brain just starts firing off.
Finds another Arceus to start setting up with potential Trinity Nova at the end of this turn. It feels like we are going to need another Arceus this game for Martin.
Yeah, I definitely don't disagree with that. We do get the Carmine. Not a bad card to have here. Discard, draw 5. Definitely doesn't have like the same oomph as a research does later in the game. I think a draw 5 gets a little bit worse, you know, the more the game goes on. But we'll take that after an unfair stand for sure.
It's also a little interesting to me as an addition because there isn't a lot of importance of getting things in the discard pile like there is in something like Lugia. So really just favoring more setup if they are going first by choice more often than not on Martin's end. So perhaps that's the idea, is having the option on a turn 1 to do something with your hand. But as you said, there's Trinity Nova for 180 and gets set up this second Arceus. Now we could see a Charizard coming down this turn for Jetta.
Yeah, we could see Charizard pop into play here, but keep in mind we do have 2 energies committed to the Pidgeot already. So this could make energy management just a little bit awkward.
The deck is looking pretty thin for Jetta already as well.
I'm going to run a P real quick, Nate. I'll be right back.
You got it. So there's the 1 card from Jetta from that quick search. Night Stretcher being played to get a Dust Noir back, it seemed like. So this Cursed Blast, this 13 damage counters, could be a huge play here. We do get to set up that Charizard EX, an Infernal Rain, hopefully going to get the 2 energies it needs to attack. So this 13 damage counters from a Dust Noir plus a 240 damage Burning Darkness is enough to knock out this Arceus V-Star, which is pretty good setup here for Jetta. Question is if they have anything else to do on this turn. They can't flip the script for once. But here we are going to see that Curse Blast. Oh, it's going to take out the Dust Skull instead. I do like this. So it's a 1-for-1 prize trade, but a lot of the power of Martin's deck comes from the ability to use these Curse Blasts to reach those higher numbers with a Trinity Nova. So that's something that Arceus struggles a little bit more with, is hitting huge damage numbers. So getting rid of the option to have any tricks with a Dustclops or Dust Noir really kind of takes the wind out of Martin's sails a little bit here. Now Jetta setting up for another Curse Blast eventually. Thornton is being played.
All right.
Pop this Pidgey
I've
out
returned.
for a Dust Skull. You missed the sickest Thornton of all time. We're getting a double Dust Noir turn.
Oh, no. This is nuts.
So the first Curse Blast was able to take out the Dust Skull on the bench, and the second one, using a Thornton, is going to take out the Slowbro, and Martin's going to concede, it looks like.
He looks like he's getting... Almost.
So now these Arceus are just sitting by themselves with no help from anyone else. And a Burning Darkness is doing 240. Which won't take out.
No, it's doing 300.
Of course, because of the giving them prize cards with Dust Noir. That's insane.
Absolutely insane stuff. Math, baby. We love to see it.
Who would have ever thought that giving your opponents prize cards would be a benefit?
Yeah, that was crazy. Like, I think the Dust Noir technology is still like wildly underexplored. I think this card, like we were talking about, you know, when stuff like Briar comes out, you know, next set, I think this card becomes just a little bit better. I still think it's wild. It's, you know, we're still trying to figure out what the best way to play this card is. And I do think its best home isn't Charizard. That was it's just Charizard. Charizard. I'm losing it.
That was game 1 going to Jeddah.
Yep, Jeddah
Martin
one game
choosing to
away.
go first.
Yep, one game away from advancing on into top 4 here.
See what this opening hand is here. Again, pretty good. Has the Buddy Buddy Poffin to get Duskulls. Has Nest Ball to get a second Arceus.
Yep, no, definitely a very strong hand. And we're starting to Fez. Not good.
Never what you want to see as a Charizard player.
Yeah, starting one of your support Pokemon is never ideal. Gonna get Tails into Capturing Aroma, so that's gonna allow you to search out a basic Pokemon.
It's our second Arceus here. Buddy Buddy Poffin's going to pick up some Duskulls.
Dare I say you squawked his hand away, Nate?
That seems okay to me. The rare candy, having the rare candy is nice, but you would assume that it's getting Ionoed if you leave it around in hand, so.
We're gonna grab. Okay, we're gonna. Oh, no, almost grabbed the limit off the Nest Ball. No, don't do it. God, don't do that. That's bad. There we go. Having the right idea. Gonna go for the Squawk and Seize. Discard your hand, draw 6. Great way to start the game. If you are. If you're.
Finds the
Martin
energy
right now.
attachment. That is the most important part.
Yes, that is the second half of any like Arceus TV dinner. It's like these V-Star Pokemon are like very like regimented in like how you have to like set them up. There's like no, you know, if you have to do like the bare minimum or otherwise your deck just doesn't work. So in Arceus' case, it's like, did you establish an Arceus V? Did you attach an energy from your hand? Congratulations, you did it.
So we'll see what Jeddah gets to set up here. For Martin's side, having the Squawk ability as a liability on the bench is something that hasn't come up in last game, so it is a little scary in that regard. Something that perhaps could get targeted pretty easily by even a base 180 damage Burning Darkness. Something in the prizes, a Charmander, okay. Gets that with the Hisuian Heavy Ball, and does have the Rotom as well for an instant charge at the end of this turn.
Yep, we're just gonna go for the Iono. Oh, no emote. Not getting it there. We do get the Ultra Ball in hand though for Martin, so the Arceus V-Star
About an
is
equal hand for Martin here.
Yeah, this hand is really not like any worse than the last one he just had, so.
Meanwhile, Jeddah's getting double Charmander set up. And maybe a Pidgey with this Ultra Ball. We'll see. So despite starting with this Pheasantipity and does have to kind of pre-place this energy here for it to be able to retreat in a future turn, not the worst setup here for Jeddah.
No, definitely not. Your board state definitely is very well established. Obviously, having a 1 Pidgey down kind of stinks, but forces your opponent to kind of have to go through it. And, you know, considering the HP that Pheasantipity has, Arceus is not going to be knocking it out here. But there is the opportunity to actually correct that math a little bit, like we mentioned. That's been kind of the biggest game here with this Arceus deck is how can we manipulate the numbers to help us get over the hill for those knockouts. I think getting a Dusclops here is huge. You put that 50 on the board to soften up the Pheasantipity.
The 50 plus the 160 is what we need for the Pheasantipity. Now, what we would want here is to get into a Dust Noir to take out the Pidgey on the bench, which we could do with the Ultra Ball and Candy here.
Oh, that's true. That's the part about these these Dust Noir like packages that I don't see nearly enough decks be able to pull off. Like being able to get the Dusclops and the Dusk Noir in play is so crazy. Being able to do like 180 damage just off the rip for 2 of your opponent's prize cards, like your opponent takes 2 prize cards, but like who cares?
And almost always the prize card like that you're offering them is a trade 1-to-1. So Like in this case, it'll be a Dust Noir for a Pidgey, so it's 1-to-1. And then the Dusclops one is taking out the Pheasantipity, which gives you 2 in return. So, or we could be taking out the Charmanders again. That's what we did last time. And it seems like that's the play again for Martin. Using the Dust Noir Curse Blast for 13 onto the bench. Charmander, which lets us Trinity Nova this other remaining Charmander.
Yeah, I think being able to mitigate the Charmanders is huge. You know, the deck is Charizard EX, so can't have Charizard without Charmander.
This now also lets us perhaps get into a Dust Noir with this Dusclops. We could manually evolve next turn.
There we go.
And we do get to set up the other Arceus as well.
Yep, smooth stuff. Gonna grab the other energies and
Gonna leave one in deck because you have one in hand to attach.
yeah, makes a lot of sense.
So 2 for 1 prize turn here for Martin. And taking out both Charmanders is not bad. Vegeta can flip the script here and still perhaps has access to a Star Alchemy for a Seal Stone. With 9 cards in hand, we'll see what they can cook up.
Yeah, you definitely have a lot to play with in hand right now. We flipped the script. There's hopefully you have maybe another search card, some recovery stuff to get these Charmanders reestablished. Do you have one in the hand? Do we have the tools to get Pidgeot in play as well? That's also going to be huge.
Okay, Luminous Sign is going to get us the perhaps Arven we need to make that happen. Get a Rare Candy and for a Seal Stone.
2 very good cards there, I say.
So it does seem very likely we're going to get another Pidgeot this turn. Attack. So we might be setting up for a... it could be another Thornton play.
That would be kind of cool. Take the Pheasantipity off the board here. Or we could Cruel Arrow. That'd be even funnier. The 3 energy attached for the Cruel Arrow.
I don't know how much that would be effective, but it's possible.
Would it be effective? Probably not. Would it be funny? Absolutely.
Magma Basin. Can perhaps put an energy on the Charmander. I don't know. That's a little scary because then the Dusclops could take it out with its Curse Blast. I think you're just playing it to have it out there for the future.
Yeah.
An unfair stamp. We'll see how fair it is today.
That's not fair.
Pretty unfair. I think, though, that the unfair stamp being unfair is the fair option, you know?
When are we getting the trolley problem stamp? When's that ace spec coming out? So
neither player really knows what's going on.
Yeah.
Ending off with the instant charge.
Ooh, that's not
into the Dust Noir.
That's pretty good. I mean, you don't have to. I guess you could pop it, I guess, if you want.
The question is if we are going after the Charmander again or not. Setting up this makes me think we're not, since you could have done it with the 50. Yeah, so it looks like we're going to take out the Pidgeot instead.
Yeah, that's probably the better idea of what to do right here.
Now, this is putting a potential... It's just so scary powering up the Burning Darkness from Charizard.
Yeah, especially given that you...
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like, especially given that you don't have that second Arceus V-Star set up, it does make it kind of a dangerous game you're playing just by, like, putting yourself on a clock.
Yeah, exactly. The Charizard can now absolutely take out an Arceus V-Star or any other Pokemon.
We do get the boss.
The addition of the Duskulls and Dust Noirs, who knows where we can reach on this turn for Jetta.
There you go. We're going to get the Buddy Boffin just to kind of see what we're working with here in the deck. Really just checking into that Charmander.
It's very pretty art.
It is beautiful. I did pull one of these out of a God pack, actually. I bought a 2-pack tin from a GameStop on my job, and I got a God pack out of it.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty
I
sick.
have one as well, actually. Just from a regular pack, but not as good.
One day, the Fire Charizard EX will be the optimal one, but until then, at least we have Charmander.
Vegeta with all the cards in the world here. Ultra Balling for perhaps the Charizard. We need to evolve to this turn. Is there a world where this 20 damage is going to matter?
That's a good question. I don't really think so. Like, it is late in the game. Charizard's already scaled up to, like, the 9s, so...
There's Infernal Rain powering up the Charizard, gets the counter catcher on the Arceus V. And now, yeah, it might matter now. Since there's double turbo energy on this Arceus V Star.
Yeah, you don't knock out the Lumineon. This top deck's going to be huge.
The problem is there's no Duskull set up for Martin.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of options here for trickery. We get the slow, bro, but there's no way of giving Jetta this last prize card to make it effective.
Yeah, this might just be...
This might be a boss and hope situation.
Yeah, I guess you just... It's tough. I guess you just force...
A lot of energy is committed to the board with these two on Pheasantipity.
Okay, so we're just going to give up the Slowpoke here. Force Jetta to have the piece in hand. And any card in hand is pretty huge right now, so... There's a number of different options they can opt to take here. I think evolving into Slowbro is probably a better play. It forces your opponent to have, like, all the pieces here. Can boss stall the Lumineon, and we're going to pass the buck. And a
Does
Sadie.
Martin have switches, though, is my question. Because this Slowbro might just be stuck here. Like, there's 2 jet energies in Martin's list, so that is perhaps the only way out. But with that fire in hand, this is going to be the game for Jetta.
Yep, no, instead just going to go for the boss in hand, attach the energy from hand, retreat, and move on.
So kind of quick 2-0 for Jetta here. Against a very interesting Arceus deck from Martin. Gets top 8, still very, very good showing.
Yeah, very interesting stuff there. So let's kick it back to the caster chat and we'll talk a little bit more about it. Oh, and my camera's not on again. Hey guys, we're back. It's me again. All right, so we are here. We have no other streamed matches right now, so we got some time to chat a little bit about what we just saw. So Jetta moving on into top 4 because they're gonna play the winner of either Meta Man or Gage. So that's gonna be either Lugia V-Star against an old friend here, Gardevoir EX, making it to the top 8 tonight, Nate.
Some holdouts still playing this deck. A lot of people have kind of written it off in this format.
It's just so tough, man. Like, I understand why Gardevoir is good when it's good, but given just how much Regidrago there is, like, you're just basically asking to get yourself pinged for multiple prize cards a turn, given how Gardevoir has to get itself powered up.
Yeah. And a lot more dark Pokemon running around now to take advantage of the weakness.
Yeah, that's definitely a factor that you have to consider, but the list is pretty cute. I do like the Double Monkey Dory, and one Technical Tree Devolution does set you up for some big knockouts here. Again, this deck, I think it's tough, man, because Gardevoir has been so good for so long. I kind of see it in the state where it's at now, where it's like a tier 2.5 in some people's tier lists. It's like, it breaks my heart. It's like watching your favorite athlete, like, be at the prime of their career, and then they turn 35 or something, and then it's just...
Well, it's really that their peers graduated or retired. You know,
Yeah.
they lost their friends. The Gardevoir is still around, but
Yeah. Gardevoir still accelerating energy, and Zacian V got a job. You know, is doing something else. But yeah, listen, like you said, there are still some holdouts. I don't think this deck is awful. You're definitely gonna have to sweat a little bit in certain matchups. There's certainly some stuff you're gonna want to dodge on the table. I think Lugia is probably one of your more like okay-ish matchups.
yeah,
If they
doesn't seem
don't start,
bad.
yeah. But this list is playing one of my favorite fringe cards in Lugia, the Wellspring Mask Ogerpon.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of people have been tested around with that when it first came out, and most people, I would say like 90% cut it eventually.
I'm a believer in the deck. I think in the right meta, it's good. Right now, I don't think it's that good, given the amount of stuff that doesn't evolve. Ogerpon's appeal is that you can, there's obviously the appeal of stopping something in the active for no damage. You have stall plays, which are always effective in certain matchups. But then you also have the ability to, hit the bench for big damage as well. So I think the card definitely has a home in certain metas. Maybe if Charizard becomes more popular, it becomes a little bit of a better choice because then you have a little bit more two-price capabilities. But otherwise, like, I don't know. It's tough. I like the card. I just don't know if I love it.
It's another one of those cards where you kind of have to monitor mana fees usage as well.
Yeah.
And it feels like right now, especially with all the Regidrago going around with Kyurem, that mana fee stocks are rising, which means that perhaps the Wellspring Mask stocks are dropping a little bit.
Yeah, especially because Lugia is not a deck that plays something like Canceling Cologne.
There's no room for it. There's just
no, you
absolutely
can't.
no room.
I think I was talking to one of my friends, because Lugia is a deck that I play a lot. It's something I'm considering playing for Baltimore this weekend. And my friend's like, "Yeah, you can't fit like a night stretcher or anything in here." I'm just like, "No, like, what's the matter with you? What do you think this is?" Like,
What are you cutting?
yeah, like
Bring that to the table first.
yeah, I was testing, yeah, because I was testing with my friend. He plays a lot of Charizard, and I play a lot of Lugia. And then for a couple of games, we switched decks. So I was playing Charizard, he was playing Lugia. And he was like, he had like a research in his hand, and he just refused to flush his hand. He's like, you don't play you don't play Pokemon Recovery in this deck. I'm just like, no, it's not that type of deck. And he just like could not do it. He's just like, he would just refuse to like discard his hand. He can't do it.
And it gets worse and worse. You keep drawing more cards that you don't want to discard.
Yeah, it's just like, Lugia is just not that type of deck, man. It's the next man up. Like, just got to keep the gravy train rolling. But I do think Lugia is a hot choice going into Baltimore. Personally, I think going into Worlds, I don't think it was a bad choice either. When Regidrago is going to be a very when Regidrago is going to be a very meta centralized popular deck.
And probably still is.
And it's still going to be. Probably not at the clip that it was. Not like 25% of the meta game like it was at Worlds. There's going to be a lot. That number's probably still going to be pretty high. So I still think Lugia has a home here. I think the biggest thing is just like, are you okay losing to Miraidon? Are you okay losing to Iron Thorns? And if are you teching for those matchups if you can? So it's definitely still a good choice. When the deck shows up to work, it's still one of the best decks in the format. The problem is yourself sometimes. It's a lot of self-reflection with Lugia. That makes it a problem.
I'm taking a look at our other matches that are happening currently. There is Raging Bolt up against the Control list, which just hit 1-1. Raging Bolt just took the second game. And Charizard is one game up on Turbo Roaring Moon. And like we said, that Lugia is one game up over Gardevoir.
Yeah.
So I'm quite interested in who wins out that first match, the Raging Bolt versus Control.
Yeah, that's tough. I'm curious what your thoughts are as Control as a concept right now. In the meta, I think a lot of people are like scared away from it because Pecharunt exists, but I still think those decks are very, very good. I think the problem you run into is that, like, are you okay tying sometimes at a regional, I guess, because, ties are inherently a lot more worse. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, with the new format kind of disincentivizing people from taking ties, it does feel like there perhaps would be fewer people playing stall, which tends to make it stronger. With fewer people playing it, fewer people are teching for it, and sometimes you'll just run into spots where your deck does not have an answer that it needs up against a deck like this. I think it still has a lot of strength currently, and a lot of people are experimenting with kind of. You always have this tool belt in a control deck of options, and you try to have an option for every scenario. And I think they are figuring out the good options that can deal with a large portion of the meta. So I think there's a lot of strength there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely still think this is a solid choice. A lot of people aren't respecting it, like you said. The decks that are good into it are very inconsistent decks. I do think Reggie Drago does give you a run for your money because they not only did they play Canceling Clone, but they get to use the Canceling Clone a second time, thanks to Legacy Star. So I do think that matchup is kind of tough for you if you don't get the right pieces set up here. But there's plenty of stuff here to make things rough on your opponent. I like the Luxray V. I like the Cornerstone Mask Ogrepon. I think all these cards work very well in tandem with each other, but at the same time, it's just hard. So, I don't know. It's tough.
The Cornerstone Mask, in particular, is something that I've been watching kind of closely. I was saying earlier I'm a fan of Arceus Vulpix, which the Alolan Vulpix V-Star kind of has the same idea of shutting down Pokemon with abilities, because 70-80% of Pokemon that are played in these meta decks have abilities. So having that option as, I'm not stalling this game out, I am knocking out all of your Pokemon with an unbeatable Cornerstone Mask is a great kind of alternate path that they now have or are using.
All right, and we have Turbo Roaring Moon going up against Charizard here. Piloted by one of the best players in Seattle, Lee Bowie. Lee is a staple in these late night events. He always does very well. This time doing it with the deck that I feel like I still don't think enough people are talking about how good Roaring Moon is right now.
Mm-hmm.
I just think this deck is so good.
I also agree. It's anytime just knocking out any Pokemon you want will be good and continue to be good. The problem that I have now is with all of this Duskull going around, like we just saw, it usually that 30 health on a Roaring Moon is easily taken out by a Dusclops or a Dusknoir. So that takes out a little bit of the strength of, leaving yourself surviving with the Frenzied Gouging. But I do still think it is quite strong. Yeah.
I just think being able to punch your opponent in the mouth before they even get a chance to start the game is huge. And in terms of I also just like the stability of Dark Patch Sada than I do hitting generators. So I think having that a little bit more flexibility is nice. So your foundation's a little bit stronger. But yeah, that being said though, if you drop the pace at any given moment, things can just fall off a cliff for you. So it's tough. I do think it's going to be incredibly popular still. So I think a lot of its success is going to depend on what the bracket looks like. Your Reggie Drago matchup isn't great. Your Lugia matchup isn't great unless you punch Lugia in the mouth right before when you start. So. And again, being able to take 2 prize cards on the first turn is a luxury a lot of decks don't have, and I think someone's gonna. I mean, we saw it happen at Worlds. Sanosuke had quite the run going in the finals, so I wouldn't be surprised that I saw that happen again this weekend.
It looks like the Lugia took the 2-0 victory over Gardevoir. So that sets up a Lugia v Charizard classic matchup in top 4.
That's a tough one, man. That is a real coin flip of a matchup.
How do you think it's changed now with all the Dusknoir tricks going around?
Well, it's tough because the name of the game previously in this matchup is that it's kind of like a game of chicken. Who blinks first? Charizard doesn't want to punch first into Lugia. Lugia doesn't want to punch first into Charizard unless it's knocking it out. Whoever is able to go in that 2-2 exchange quicker usually ends up winning. The Dusknoir exchange makes things a little bit more awkward. Because your Chinchinos are a little bit less safe. So if you're playing a heavier basic build of Lugia, you don't mind the Dusknoirs and Dusclopses as much. But if you're playing the rats, then it makes kind of setting your board up a little bit awkward. I think the
How
benefit
much health do the Cinchinos have? It's
they
only
have
one.
110.
Okay, yeah, not enough.
Yeah. That being said, though, if they're opting to go the route of knocking out your Chinchinos, it keeps your Archeopsis safe. Because what is really detrimental to this game, to Lugia versus Charizard is that, okay, you take the first couple of knockouts with Lugia, right? Then your opponent gets set up. They just Pidgeot for counter catchers the next 2 turns. They knock out your Archeops. Oops, you're playing with a theme deck. So it's like they completely just kind of cut you off at the legs unless you, disperse your energy right. I think what makes the matchup a little bit easier for Lugia is that because of the chunky support Pokemon that Charizard has to make, you only ever really have to go through one Charizard in your game. You can just knock out the one Charizard, and then you can just
Pheasantipity, take out
Yeah.
a Lumineon.
Yeah, exactly. So you can just kind of boss around, to the softer stuff. So it's tough. It's definitely a harder, matchup. But I think if you're playing a heavier build of rats, it's definitely maybe a little bit more in Lugia's favor, but it can flip on its head at any time. So
Another update, Bird Boy from Japan, the control player, has won over the Raging Bolts, moving them into top 4. And Master Labui with the Roaring Moon has won game 2, so that's going to game 3. So
Yeah,
3 of our 4 top 4 competitors locked in.
yeah, I guess we can kind of take a look at what we got. Let's take a look here. Yeah, we get the standings here so far. Again, a lot of Charizard tonight, Nate. Very, very surprising stuff. I think.
Lots of Charizard lately. It was last week as well.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where I think people were starting to kind of sniff out the Ancient Box a little bit as a hot pick going into Baltimore, which I think is detrimental to that deck because I think it's going to have the same problem that Reggie Drago had going into Worlds, where it just got a little too hot right before the tournament, so everybody knew, what the play was probably going to be. So I think, we're in this weird rock, paper, scissors, arc of the metagame right now where it's just okay, this beats this, that beats that, so on and so forth. So, I think Charizard being good definitely bodes well for a lot of other decks that maybe lose to the big basic deck. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this field plays out.
Yeah. It does make those types of decks.
Looks like we should be okay here. All right, everything's reconnected. We're back. Sorry about that, guys. I don't quite know what happened there, but yeah, so I forget what you were saying right before we disconnected. I think we were talking about
decks that don't have an extreme matchup spread, but are kind of okay against the field.
Yes,
being a little bit stronger in a meta like this, where the techs and these other decks that are coin flip very, very good or very bad are getting a little worse. It makes those kinds of even decks a little bit stronger and more appealing. But then also saying a lot of these Charizard players, I think, are excited for Briar to arrive and getting their plays ready before that happens.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy. It feels like we just got Shrouded Fables and we're already getting stuff for the next set. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the ETBs were delayed, so it doesn't really feel like right. We got to really enjoy the product as it came out. But yeah, Stellar Crown is right around the corner. It's going to be the last tournament we play in this format as we start off the regional schedule. For the 2025 season. And I'm really excited. I think, both of us come from, other competitive backgrounds. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's a different beast, competing in 9 rounds of Swiss versus, competing in fighting game tournaments, which is a lot, which is what you and I are primarily used to, but
although it's getting a little closer to feeling like a double elim tournament with these ties feeling like losses coming up.
Yeah, it's tough, man. If you're someone that enjoys a deck that's a little longer in the tooth, God bless you. That's why I really didn't want to, those sort of decks aren't my decks to play anyway. I like to hit the ground running as fast as possible. So I was testing a lot of Roaring Moon myself going into this weekend. Raging Bolt's the only one of those like big archetypes I actually haven't played, because the Raging Bolts are too expensive and I don't feel like buying them. Can't wait for that promo box to come out.
I was lucky enough to before NAIC. I was looking through my bulk and I found, oh yeah, look, I have these Raging Bolts. I have all 4 of them. Wow. Like,
Wow,
I
that's
just had
crazy.
them from opening cards before. And I just hadn't used them before, but now I do.
Yeah, my biggest thing was just like I didn't have the Raging Bolts and I didn't have the Ogre Pawns either. And the Ogre Pawns
That
were
was-
like $12 a pop. I was just like,
That
oh,
was
that's a lot of bread for 4 cards, man. Like, but shout outs to my friend that went to a trade convention and he found a binder of them for like $9 a pop. I'm just like, oh, thank you so much. Like,
That is an investment that will continue to pay dividends, though. I think Ogre Pawn is here to stay for a very long time.
yeah, it's crazy looking at the cards that came out of that set. You know, something like Dragapult, which is looked at as like this, end all be all. Is this the next big thing? Which, granted, it definitely gets a lot better in Stellar Crown. So, Dragapult's time might just not have been, when it came out in Twilight Masquerade. But Ogerpon has really turned into like the mob boss. That card is it's really, really good, and it fits into a lot of really, really good stuff right now. And I think it's like you said, it's just going to continue to be very, very effective.
And for also the simple fact that has not mattered at all until now is that it's a Terra Pokemon.
Yeah.
It sets up for all of our silly Stellar options coming out of Stellar Crown that need a Terra Pokemon on the bench. It's a perfect option for that, which, that had never came up before. It's not often you're throwing damage around to the bench that the normal Terrastalize effect would stop.
Yeah.
But now it's going to be a big deal, I think, coming up.
How many times this happened recently to one of my friends at our local, but it's just like, how many times do you forget what the terror effect actually does? God, forget all the time.
It's in little tiny writing at the bottom of the card or whatever. It's not a big. They don't advertise it very well.
Yeah, it's like not very often. It's like, okay, yeah, I'll use Radiant Greninja to set up the math on his Ogre Pond, and it's like, oh wait, I can't do that.
Womp womp.
It's like unfortunate stuff. But I was also talking to one of my friends today, and they're just like, huh. Like, there's like, yeah, what about like Terra Pokemon Reggie Drago's gonna play? We all just kind of looked at him just like, let's let them figure it out. Like,
They've got 4 right there already.
Yeah, they already got him right there. Yeah, I'm very excited to see what what Stellar Crown has to offer here, both in the existing archetypes, and the singular new one we're gonna get with the Terapagos. I'm still a Cinderace believer. I like that Pokemon a lot, but man, that card leaves a lot to be desired. It's a tough sell.
What about Ceruledge? Come on.
Yeah, it's true. I am excited for that. I'm not so excited for the for that Sylveon card that shuffles your Pokemon back into your deck. So it means I'm gonna have to finally put Lugia down and never play it again. But the Ceruledge stuff I think is interesting. It's kind of a shame that we don't get those cards in in Stellar Crown. We have to wait till our November set to get them. Like, that is so unfortunate. But if you don't think I don't have the Cinderace on my desk right now, y'all are slipping. I got this thing sleeved up, ready to go.
Prepared man.
So if you're going to Baltimore and you want to play Stellar Crown, by all means, I will be. After I'm done winning the tournament, I'll definitely make some time to to play some fun stuff.
I'm sure there's some time. After 9 quick rounds of Swiss, you got some time.
Let me tell you, man, I haven't gotten to compete in a regional since I went to Charlotte last January. I had to miss out on a lot of last season because I got surgery. So, like, I have not gotten to and I missed out on registering for NAIC. So I haven't gotten a chance to actually compete in a regional in a long time. And I don't know if I remember how just grueling 9 rounds of Swiss is going to be. Like, it's going to be a long day.
No lunch break.
No, bring those protein bars. What's your bracket snack of choice?
I usually bring those Nature Valley like crumbly granola bars. It's been my go-to.
I can already taste them falling apart in my mouth.
Yeah, I go find the nearest trash can and I stand over it and eat my low granola bars.
I'm personally a fan of the convention center hot dog. That's one of my go-tos. I have this tradition where at any time at a regional where I start very badly, my day usually turns around after I eat the convention center hot dog. So
Gives you the strength you need. Yeah.
yeah, I think I played a game I think it was the first region I went to. I went to Hartford and I got path locked by a Mew VMAX playing Lugia. And by the time I finally bumped the stadium, I basically had the win on deck, but I forgot the summoning star, so I didn't get my Archeops out. So I had to do really had to look the man in the mirror and be like, wow, I'm an idiot. So then I ate a convention center hot dog and I won my next 4 sets. So I'm like, all right, cool. So turns out all I needed was the carbs.
It's hard to think on an empty stomach. That is true.
It's tough, man. Thanks. Shout outs to the working men that have to wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning anyway. So these it's like having 10 a.m. pools at a fighting game tournament. It's just like everybody else lows them. It's just like, oh, what are you talking about? Like at this point, I've already been up for 4 hours. Like,
imagine if everyone in the tournament had 10 a.m. pools.
Yeah. When is the next game? We're currently waiting to see what the next rematch is going to be. That's why we're kind of vamping right now, folks. We're waiting for one match to finish up, and then we're going to see if any of our next constituents can stream or not. I'm going to ask in the general chat right now what we got going on.
Hopefully they'll be able to. Well, at least one of our matches will be. But yes, there we are waiting on one final top 8 match, which is in its final game right now. That is a Turbo Roaring Moon up against a Charizard. Fighting for the opportunity to play Control in the next game.
Oddly long match for a deck that goes very,
it's called
very
Turbo,
fast.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, just got reported the Charizard is the victor.
All right, we're just getting word now on what.
Which sets up Charizard versus Control, which is notably very bad for Charizard.
Yeah, not a matchup that Charizard wants to see. And I think if you're not teching, if you're Charizard, I feel like your matchup against Control is so bad, you kind of have to tech for it in some capacity. Like, whether it's playing the Pecha Runt or the, a Canceling Cologne or something. Like, I think Canceling Cologne is going to be in almost everything this weekend coming up. I think that card's very, very positioned well to be very effective for a lot of decks.
Yeah. Lots of important, powerful abilities that would be nice to turn off slightly.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as text, this Huntimon has one Turos scenario, and that's kind of it against Control.
Yeah, they're opting for some interesting choices here. The Entei V being included in here is a choice for sure. They're opting to play the Hero's Cape as their ace spec. So opting to make themselves as tanky as possible. Which again, not, in most instances, not a bad ace spec to have, but against Control, leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah.
No. Everybody here has an ability. It's tough. You're really going to have to... It's really going to be a lot of piecing stuff around with Radiant Charizard and Dust Noir. So, okay, looks like we do have somebody hopping into one of the chats here. So I think we're going to have a match coming up for you guys soon.
Birdboy from Japan, which is the Control player.
All right. We're going to have Control soon,
They're not
guys.
streaming quite yet. Well, hopefully we'll get...
Yeah, we're getting there.
Be able to see that.
We're getting there. There you go. Shout out to everyone that's been joining us tonight. And again, it is pretty late on the East Coast where we're at. Hence the term. Late night it do be going late sometimes. So
it's been later. This is, we're kind of in the thick of it right now.
Yeah. It has been later than this. I have once commented a late night and then got to watch the sun come up. So that was a rough week.
Possible.
When late night becomes early morning. No Control. Sorry, guys. Unfortunately, that's the only match we have to stream right now. So we'll be right back with Control. All right, folks, we are here with. I love people's deck names for their stuff because it's just like, out of context, it makes them look like really bad movie sequels.
Yep.
Like Pidgeot Snore Control 2. It's like, do I have to watch the first one? It's just like an anthology thing.
Coming this December.
Yeah. I think one of them was just like, it was like Arc Dustnorn 9. I'm just like, oh man, they made 9 of these things?
Yes, coming all the way from Japan is Burger Boy 2000 playing this Pidgeot Snorlax Control 2. Up against Charizard of Huntimon.
Yeah, let's see if Huntimon has the stones to be able to get this going here, as we are going to be on Bird Boy's perspective.
Starting Mimikyu is pretty good, actually. This will be very interesting to see all of the options that our control player has. I think it's almost better this way. Not the best first turn, though.
No, not at all. This is not necessarily how you want to start. No, he's looking at when the supporter lineup in the hand ain't great either. I mean, having Arven is definitely good. It's going to help you kind of get over and get your guys set up. We could see Snorlax become a factor here. Pheasantipity is definitely not the ideal starter. You want to try to get this guy out of the active as fast as you can, because otherwise he might be stuck there, Nate.
Yeah, and it is even... So it's a bad starter in most matchups, but it is even worse against control because every single energy matters so much. So having to commit that one energy to retreat this Pheasantipity could be something down the line that will run into a huge problem for Huntimon. We'll see how it goes. First energy going to be committed to the Charmander.
Right,
the one thing you do have against control is time. You have all the time in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Time is definitely going to be on your side here. We see the Arven come down here. Looking at what to get. Looks like it's going to be Nest Ball and the Forest Sealstone. We already have the Pidgey in hand, so we're going to be able to at least get the Pidgey established to get the rest of the, get the rest of the puzzle moving here. Going to grab Rotom, set up that Forest Sealstone. We're going to pop the Star Alchemy immediately here, Nate.
What are we searching for? Cornerstone Mask, so just as good as Mimikyu is, this is equally as strong against Charizard with so many abilities.
Yeah, no, make yourself as layered as possible. Make it so that your opponent can't just gust up the next thing. Now, granted, you do still have Rotom on the bench, but has 190 HP, and not unless your Huntimon pops a Dusclops, you're not going to be able to knock it out with Charizard this turn, so...
So Luminion, the one Turo in the list is going to be used here on the Pheasantipity. So that's another resource that we're not going to have later. And no Palpad in the list for Huntimon to get that back. So there is a potential line in the future for just trapping something with a block Snorlax.
Yeah, that's tough, man. Given, again, the very thin line of Pokemon you have to play in these decks now, certain cards just aren't going to make the cut. And unfortunately, Palpad is one that you have to slash here, which is unfortunate.
Now, this is the kind of the setup you want as Huntimon, is Flare Veil Charmeleon, able to attack through the Mimikyu. But the Bravery Charm makes it a 3-turn clock instead of a 2-turn clock. And now here's the boss's orders onto the fish. Snorlax in hand. Can we get to it with the Beach Court? Yes, we can.
Oh, that is... we got real control shenanigans popping up right now, and the hand full of very, very strong, supporter cards. We do find the Pidgey and the Pidgeot, but not going to put him down here. Looks like we're just going to see very much the control aspect of the control, be put into play here.
Gets the Dusclops, which will set up for Dust Noir in the future. Very powerful Iono here.
Yep, going to put the hand back down to 6. We do see the penny here. The accompanying flute, not a bad card to have either. Oh, and the thumbs down emote.
Must not have been the best 6 cards there for Huntimon. Flute hits a Radiant Charizard and a Rotom, filling up the bench.
I just turned myself up a bit, Brian. I don't know if I was the one that was quiet or not, but if let us know at home if we sound a little bit better. Oh, we're just gonna see the concession.
Yeah, with the flute hitting there, there's so many targets to be stuck in the active with that Snorlax. Kind of saw the writing on the wall there. So Huntimon trying not to open with a Pheasantipity next game. That is the number one key.
What could I have done better?
So
Not start Fez.
The only anti-control tool in their deck really is that one Turo. So having to use that to get a Pheasantipity out of the active before a Snorlax is even in play, not exactly where you want to be. So that is a quick game 1 for Bird Boy.
I still think there's some avenues where like cards like Pecharunt and Charizard are still very underexplored. Like, I know poisoning your Pokemon doesn't seem like a great idea, but at the same time, it's like you have 330 HP. That 10 damage is only ever going to make a difference in like a handful of matchups, and it does fix your control problem. I don't know. I feel like that card is definitely underexplored.
It kind of returns your crazy 330 health to a more reasonable, like, V-Star level, so...
Yeah. that 10-point difference really does make or break. Oh, no, not the Mulligan. That stinks.
Mulligan from Charizard. Now, is the Charizard going to be going first or second here, given the choice?
I think you might want to go first here, because you want to give the opportunity to evolve and get the ball rolling fast.
Assuming that you're going to be perhaps manually evolving several Pokemon, that makes sense.
Yeah,
it is the choice from Huntimon.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Like you said, control definitely takes a little bit of time to ramp up here. Oh, Nate, you might want to turn your mic up just a little bit. I think they're saying it might be a little hard to hear.
Gotcha.
All right, we've accomplished the bare minimum. Nothing but attackers on the bench right now. Oh, God. Oh, no.
That's a huge Airy.
Oh, Airy coming from the top rope to get rid of that rare candy. That's tough.
And importantly, kind of the Super Rod as well.
Yeah. I don't know what Huntimon's count on that is. They're playing 2 Super Rod. Okay. So.
But even so, that's half of that tool gone.
Yeah, that's tough stuff. And knowing the information you now know as Bird Boy, you can kind of just play your hand down here and not really. Oh my God! We're just gonna wow.
Yeah, I'm not prepared for the control matchup, and so.
Wow.
Conceding that one a quick 2-0.
Yeah, that's tough. That one Airy really just put a damper on things. Let's head on back to the caster chat. We'll talk about it, Nate. All right, sorry guys. I got lost going back to the Discord chat. Made a wrong turn. Yeah. Listen, that's what happens when you don't tech for control, guys. Remember we were talking about when if you don't respect control, you're gonna run into some problems. That was definitely not. You feel bad for Huntimon. That's tough.
But on the other end of it, that is exactly the matchup that the control players are looking for.
Yeah, and again, Charizard's naturally just had its problems against control in the past. So, again, if you're not teching for it, it feels really bad. And that Eerie really just took the wind out of Huntimon's sails.
When it is timed as perfectly as that, Eerie is such a powerful card.
Yeah, there's like so much good hand griefing, right now between both Disruption and cards like Xerosix machinations,
Yep.
which I've learned recently. And a lot of my people I know do not know how to pronounce that word. I would like
It's a
to
big boy
thank.
word. Yeah.
I would like to thank SpongeBob SquarePants for teaching me how to say machinations properly.
Thank you, Patrick Starr.
Yeah, the inner machinations of his mind is an enigma. It's one of the best jokes in that show. I would just love to be the guy that at whoever who works at TPCI on the cards, who gets to pick the adjectives or whatever, I guess whatever that whatever it is that
Yeah.
these people are doing.
I've played a lot of Magic in my time, and they are very open with their kind of design philosophies. But a big thing with them, since they've been making cards for 30 years, right? They're
Yeah.
they're running low on language to be using, so they have been very, very careful with one word card names, because there's only so many of them that can exist. So whenever there is a one word card name, they want to make it very impactful.
Yeah. I love that stuff so much. I want my job to be what noun and can I put at the end of this card to
Yeah.
make it sound funny. Machinations is just another. It's a plural noun for a plot or a scheme. That's all it is. It's just a different variation of that, which is very funny.
But Zero Six scheming would go hard too, though.
Yeah, it's Rosie. Oh, that would go nuts. Giovanni's charisma. That's a fun one.
Scheming,
Yeah. Giovanni's Riz is still probably one of my favorite instances of that. That's a funny card.
Which
All
is
right.
also seeing a little bit of play here now and again.
That's true. Iron Thorns is a deck that still exists still, and I'm curious how that deck's gonna translate. Going into Baltimore this weekend. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts and talking to a lot of people, and a lot of pundits and people's opinions are just this might be how this might be the least impactful a Worlds winning deck might be on the meta on the next tournament, because I don't think Iron Thorns was I think was a great call going into Worlds. But when the field's a lot more wide open, it's not as condensed of a playing field. It's gonna make that call a lot harder. You're gonna run into a lot more stuff that might be able to just doink you out. So
Yeah, it found its perfect window and it struck in that window, but now it does feel like the window's closing a little bit. The door's on its way out.
yeah, it's gonna be interesting to say the least. Right, but
Taking a quick look at our standings here, it looks like the Lugia player Metaman won the game 1 against Charizard. What do you feel like Lugia versus Control would look like?
well, that's
As the Lugia
naturally
specialist.
yeah. That's always been a really good matchup for Lugia because you have access to stuff like Jet Energy to help you move in and out of the active. That kind of takes that takes a lot of the sting of Control out of it for you. I'm looking at Bird Boy's list right now, and they do not play a Temple of Sinnoh, which is a huge tech card for Lugia in those matchups, because it forces Pokemon like Archeops to sit in the active, and Archeops is only ever attacking for 120 ever. So you can set up penny loops to help burn Lugia of its resources. The accompanying flute is a really big card in that matchup because bench space is so crucial for a deck like Lugia. If you're able to force them to play, if you're able to force them to bench a fourth Pokemon, then the matchup basically it's over for them. But only playing 2 of them kind of leads you to believe it's are they really going to be able to find it?
Yeah.
So that's going to be the tough part. And another aspect of Lugia that I think makes it good in the Control is that everything you bench can swing. You have ways to get your guys out of harm's way. Lumineon can attack with Aqua Return. Jet Energy helps you get those big guys out of the active. So I think it's a very favorable matchup for Lugia, if they're able to establish themselves.
Certainly better than another Charizard versus Control.
Yeah, that's tough, man. That is like, that is, oh man, it was sad how fast those games just wrapped up. All right, but it's gonna be interesting to say the least. I'm looking at the rest of these standings here. What we got today? We did get an Iron Thorns, I believe, in a. How did Iron Thorns?
There
end
was
up
one
doing today?
earlier.
Let's see what we got here. Yeah, Iron Thorns is a little bit low on the list here. Again, we had one finishing out at 25th. Again, a lot. Again, it's been very Charizard heavy today. We do see a few more Lugia lists down here. And they are opting to play stuff like the Wellspring Mask, the Weird Year V. Looks like it's been a very popular tech card in Lugia as of late. As I said earlier, I hate that card. I think that guy never shows up when he's supposed to. He's just always kind of like a passing ship in the night. It's just like never really showing up when you need to get him. But not a bad card to include, especially if you're not opting to play like the heavy Chinchino line. We're also seeing stuff like Pheasantipity even pop up in the Lugia, which is like, again, that speaks to how strong a card like that is. A deck that doesn't play a lot of support Pokemon in Lugia opts to start picking that card up. That's nuts.
Mm-hmm. I mean, people will, I think, try to put it in anything because of how strong its ability is.
It is certainly the Frank's Red Hot of Pokemon cards. You truly can put it on everything. So, but let's take a look at some of the other like fun stuff that. Oh, we haven't gotten to talk about this. This Blood Moon Ursaluna Iron Valiant deck. What's your thoughts on this deck? Because I think this deck is very. Every time I try to play it, it feels like the worst game of Pokemon I've ever played in my entire life.
You do kind of need to hit the full like 10-piece combo. It's one of those decks. But when all of the cards fall in line, as they might say, I think it has some strength to it. People, I think, are kind of on the lookout for Iron Valiant to start doing things again in the future. There was some rumblings of like, you better buy these Valiants. They're going to be strong coming up. I don't know if this is the end-all be-all for the card, but it just does seem like a strong effect. And just how to use it the best is the question.
Yeah. I'm very sad I came onto the Iron Valiant like Entei train late, like back when that card played like Battle VIP Pass and you played like 4 of every Switch card in the format and you can just like ping your opponent to death. Like I came onto that archetype very late and it was very fun. I should have played that to Charlotte instead of playing the monstrosity that I did, which was Cloth Suing Electrode. Probably would have had a lot better of a time, but I digress. But I agree. I think Iron Thorns. It's 1-1 by the way between Jetta and Meta Man. So keeping you all updated there. Something. What is vibrating on my desk right now? Sorry. Someone's just hitting my desk and I was like freaking out. I was like, "What's going on? Are we having an earthquake?" Turns out it's a. We'll do some show and tell real quick. It's a Premier Ball deck case that came with the Pokemon Go. Dragonite V expansion that fell off my desk earlier and I accidentally just kicked it into my PC. So false alarm. Yeah, Iron Valiant and Blood Moon Ursaluna. It's like you said, it is the heavy combo piece deck. This deck list that got 13th tonight is playing it's playing Koraidon EX, but it's playing the other Koraidon EX. I don't know if this is correct or not, but it's very.
I'm not sure what the tech here is for. Like 230 is a fine number to hit, but you're not accelerating onto it. And the other attack doing 20 more damage. I mean, it's kind of another Iron Valiant ability in a way. If you really need that 20 more damage onto a benched Pokemon. But that one seems like an odd inclusion, certainly.
Like, I thought it was like the Dino Cry, like Koraidon EX. But I think what it made a lot more sense, like its energy acceleration. It's like, okay, that's cool. But no, it's not. I don't quite understand what this is accomplishing here, but
Yeah.
interesting stuff to say the least. Ancient Box coming up in 15th place, right behind it. So opting to play the Walking Wakes, I think that makes a lot of and a great Tusk. So it seems like I think people are swaying away from the Caridons for good reason. But what I like about this list is that it's opting to actually play the full, just like one prizers for Ancient Box, and I think that's what makes this deck the best. I don't know how you feel about it.
I agree with that. Yes, I think the option of having these two prizers can help in some games, but I feel like it hurts in more games than it helps.
Yeah, I agree.
Because just having a 6-turn clock, like they have to knock you out 6 times, gives you a lot of time to play through your other outs.
Oh wait, hold on. I gotta talk about this one. We see it's coming up here a little bit farther down your list here in the standings at 26th place at 6-3 tonight. We have a Goldengo list, an unassuming Goldengo list at first glance.
Oh,
But then you open it up.
Limitless
Nate,
tricked us.
Yeah, Nate, would you like to talk about the monstrosity that's on the other side of this Goldengo list?
Yeah, so there's 4 gimme ghouls, there's 3 Goldengos. That's kind of normal. It's not 4. But then the next Pokemon are 3 Dreepy, 3 Dracloak, and 2 Dragapult. What is that doing there?
This is insane levels of cook. This is like Walter White levels of cook that I'm experiencing right now.
Only 11 energy overall.
Which is normal for Goldengo. That deck usually plays about 11 energies, so...
Has 1 Mela to hopefully get a quick attack with Dragapult, but this is so crazy.
This is nuts. I guess I see the vision, right? You play the Hyper Aroma as your ace spec. It allows you to get the Dracloaks out immediately, which is fine, I guess, if you want to go that route. The best use of that is just to get the Goldengos out, because then you can start drawing cards, which is what a big appeal of this deck. I don't see how it works. This is breaking my brain. Like, the more I look at it, I'm trying to figure out the lines here. But, like, I don't see it. It just does not make sense to me.
They're not particularly synergistic, it feels like.
I gotta see what how this person did tonight. So it looks like they won against Ancient Box. They won against Charizard, Pidgeot, Gardevoir, Charizard, Pidgeot, Miraidon, and Charizard. It's so interesting.
And then losing to the quick turbo guys.
Yeah.
Moon, Raging Bolt.
Which is actually, like, I don't think Goldengo does great into those matchups anyway. Like it's... The biggest appeal to Goldengo is that you have 260 HP, which not a lot of decks are optimized to hit that. It's a little bit easier to fix that math now, because you have stuff that spreads damage counters to the bench, and you have to worry about stuff like Clops and Dusknoir to make you a little bit more of an easier target for decks to manage. I like Goldengo a lot. I think decks that draw cards are inherently very good. The card itself, it just reads very well. It's energy efficient. It's a draw engine, and it can knock out anything. It's just very resource intensive, and if you don't hit the pieces when you need them, like most combo decks are, it's just you kind of run into some problems.
Yeah. Turns out 26 is divisible by 13, though. If you just 2 Dusknoirs, will take out a full Goldengo.
That hasn't happened to me yet. Again, a lot of my problems I was having with this deck is just getting established. Like, you don't play that many basic Pokemon, so like getting off the ground felt really bad. And if you go second into a lot of matchups, you just straight up lose. Like, you're an evolving deck that wants to evolve. That you want to hit like Irida, to get Palkia V-Star and Hyper Aroma on the second turn of the game. And then you're just off to the races. And if you don't do that, you just kind of fizzle out and lose.
Yeah, looking at there's a metagame button that tells us our combined like meta share. 17% Charizard. It's the largest by far.
Yeah, and Raging Bolt coming in right behind that, around just a hair under 11%, with an Ancient Box and other combining eight
Yeah.
for 8-ish% of the meta.
The other tends to lie a little bit, but
The funniest stat on this is just looking at the one Serena deck that has like a 0.41% of the meta share, but it has an 80% win rate, which is
huge.
absolutely like carrying the metagame on its shoulders. What is the silliest deck on here I can look at? Oh, there's
The bottom couple are pretty silly.
Oh, Blastoise. Oh, there's a Blastoise that went 3-3. Go on. What do we got here? Okay, nothing crazy to write home about. A Blastoise EX, which you can pull from some of your Stellar Crown packs, guys.
That's true.
It is a card you can get. I pulled a Venusaur EX tonight, and I can't tell you how unhappy I was.
What do you mean? It's an awesome Pokemon.
I like looked at it, and I'm just like, this can't be playable, right? And then I looked at what it did, and then I looked at how much damage it does, and I was like, oh, this just sucks.
Yeah.
However, I did pull the SAR Bulbasaur, so my box did pay for itself. Let me actually see how much that card is going for right now. Somebody told me that card might be worth $65, and I almost threw up. Where are you at? TCG player, what are you doing for me? Let's see. Stellar Crown. Market price right now it's a pre-release sale.
Yeah.
So the pre-sale sale is going for $40.
It's not bad. Not bad.
That card will be worth $20 in like a couple weeks. Yeah, but this Blastoise deck is funny. What do we get? Yeah, Bidoof, Origin Form Palkia. Okay, I see the vision. There was a Bennett Gardevoir. That's cute. 0-2 drop. Unfortunate stuff. A singular Ogerpon archetype by itself. Greninja. I'm into that.
Yeah, more people are playing Greninja recently.
I like this card. This card, like, I just feel like Greninja is like one of those like EX cards where it's like one piece away from being like really good. Like, I don't know what that piece is. Like, I don't know like what the missing piece of the puzzle is. Mm-hmm. But this card, like, I just feel like it's just like right there from being like something that you have to actually consider.
Yeah, nobody really knows the best partners for it yet. They've tried a lot of things, and it's not too intrusive to like add in the package for a deck, but it has not found its home yet.
I still think an underexplored partner for this deck is something like Baxcalibur, because I guess you're already playing an evolving deck. I think the biggest problem right now is that the game is just too fast right now. If you're playing a rare candy deck, you're probably just getting the brakes blown off you. Mm-hmm. This is playing also a Dusknoir line, though, which is interesting. There's a lot going on in here. Oh, my God.
Yeah. I'm looking right now at the one Aegislash deck.
Oh, hold the phone. That is my, now that's...
It's really just control again, but...
What? Oh,
it's pretty funny.
This is pretty funny.
It's just it's a Mimikyu on stage 2. Like
just bigger control. This time with sword. Interesting. This is funny. It's a United Wings that went 4-3 tonight. God bless them. That deck has a very special place in my heart. I love Night March. That's like one of my favorite like old school decks. Mad Party wishes it was what Night March could have been, but that deck archetype sucked. United Wings ain't much better, but my God. I love me some squirrely single prize decks. Shoutouts to the one Arcanine deck that showed up tonight.
Yeah. His control deck. Waiting for game 3 between Jeddah and Metaman to finish up, which is Lugia versus Charizard. But we will get that finals as soon as one of these two decks is victorious.
Yep, we're getting onto the nitty gritty of it, and Bird Boy did stream the last set, so we are gonna at least get a streamed finals match.
Yep.
So we'll see how the rest of that shakes out here. I'm gonna go back and look at some of these bad
It might be
decks.
as fast as our last one was.
It could be.
Charizard.
It could be. I'm curious if Jeddah is more prepared for control than Huntimon was.
Taking a look at the list, maybe slightly. There's a Thornton in the list, which can help on a turn, but there's still only one Turo. They're playing Unfair Stamp, so it's not Prime Catcher for another swap out. They do have a Canceling Cologne, which could get out. So they have a couple of tools.
The Canceling Clone is definitely huge. I think that's a card you have to include. I feel like if you don't, you're just you're throwing. I'm looking back at these awful deck lists again. Let's take a look here. We got an Apples deck.
Yeah, I saw that.
That card's fun.
One Apples, one Sinistra is another fun one.
I love the level of cook that people can accomplish with this stuff. Is there just a raw Charizard deck here? What is this? Wait, what? Why is this in its own archetype? What? Oh, is there what?
I guess because it's all just one-ofs. So
I
it
guess
doesn't put a partner with it.
That is so weird. I was just gonna say, wait, is someone playing the regular Charizard EX from 151? I was like, that makes no sense. Yeah, the rest of it seems pretty straightforward and silly. Ooh, Palafin's fun though. I like that guy.
Didn't fare so well in this tournament.
No, unfortunate. I think this deck is very funny. I think the Petron EX kind of opens up a different dimension for this deck, which is funny. But it's another one of those, if I miss this combo, my game plan just kind of falls apart archetype. If you just don't hit any of the combo pieces, you're kind of spinning your wheels a little too much.
Our breaking news. Jeddah the Charizard has won. So we get another Charizard control match in the finals. And they are just conceding, it seems like.
Oh, I guess we're just calling it a night. It seems like
this is true, but yeah. I mean,
yeah, we're gonna get confirmation from the folks at home of whether we're actually gonna. Let's see, it could be Lugia. Never mind, Zard just conceded.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, all right. So,
dang.
Jeddah's all right. Well, I'm gonna take my second place codes, and we're gonna, we'll finish out the rest later. But we did get some good matches in tonight, Nate, and we did get to chat a lot about, what, where the meta game's headed right now, what we can look forward to, and what we're all gonna be playing in this weekend. So let this be a lesson. If you're playing Charizard this weekend, tech for control. You never know.
Expect it.
Yeah, expect it is inevitable at some point. But yeah, congratulations to Bird Boy. Bird Control coming out on top tonight, hitting just the right amount of stuff you needed.
Yep.
Raging Bolt, a couple of Charizards. Easy stuff, Nate.
Yeah, top 16 was 3 Charizards. It was the tournament for this control to win.
Cool. But that's going to wrap up our late night number 204 tonight. Nate, let the people know where they can find you, what you're up to. You will not be in Baltimore, unfortunately, so we will miss you dearly, but I'm sure I'll be running into you at various points throughout this competitive season. So
yes, so you can find me at Asmodemus on Twitter, Asmodemus0 on Twitch if you want to go there, or YouTube. But yeah, I'm very excited to be casting some Pokemon. I love the game. I've been having a blast learning it the past year or so, so you'll see some more of me soon.
Yeah, and we appreciate you being on this season of Late Night as well. If you guys want to see more of me, I'm a Koopa NJ across platforms. I will be in Baltimore this weekend for the Baltimore regional championships. So if you see me, come say hi. I'll be around for sure. I got so I do this every Wednesday. Obviously, I am one of your your mainstays here on the NA side of things. Nate will periodically be my co-caster on the NA side of things, but also does the EU stream as well. So make sure to check all that out as well. And if you want to listen to me talk more about Pokemon stuff, I do host a Pokemon podcast with my friend George Fabre, the Squawk and Seas podcast. Our Baltimore preview episode will be coming out in approximately like 12 hours. You check on our YouTube channel for that. But that's going to be it for us tonight, folks. And until next time, have a wonderful night. Good night, everyone.
See you around.